It's 11 o'clock, so we'll give another 30 seconds to a minute for people to find their seats, and we'll start our program today. Thank you for coming. It's big print, but still. Good morning. My name is Darren Watucky. I have the honor and privilege of serving as the director of the Memorial Student Center. Thank you for being with us this morning for the ceremony. I'd like to begin by welcoming to the podium our Chancellor, Catherine P. Frank.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is a busy time, right? It is a busy time on campus, so I appreciate everybody taking the time to be here today to honor Reed Jones from World War II and Andrew Bossert, an Iraq-Afghanistan era veteran. So we all know that tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so today we take this opportunity to reflect on the millions of men and women who have served our country. And I would like to take this opportunity and point out and acknowledge that UW-Stout has 236 veteran and current military among our student body. And in addition, 37 of our full-time employees are veterans. And this, of course, gives tomorrow, Veterans Day, special significance on our campus. We thank you all, students and staff, for your service. Join me in thanking them. So today we are very honored to have family members of Andrew Bossert with us. Andrew's mother, Diane, and father, Steve, in our front row, are with us this morning with brother Tim, sister Amy, and extended family members watching the live stream. Welcome, and thank you all for joining us in person and virtually. And speaking of the live stream that's happening, we are pleased to have family members of Reed Jones watching this morning, and in particular, great-nephew Robbie Jones and great-niece Kim Crafts joining us from Las Vegas, and Reed's nieces, Mimi from Las Vegas, and Barbara watching in Prescott, Arizona. And while it has been 79 years since Reed's passing, these family members that only knew of him have expressed their appreciation to learn more about Reed and to honor his memory. So thank you to both families, those here in person and those online. Your presence speaks to the importance of this day. We are honored to spend this time with you today. So a chancellor's primary goal, and one of my favorite moments, is to be able to see our students walk across the stage at graduation, earning their degree. And unfortunately, this doesn't always happen. And in the cases of Reed and Andrew, their time on campus was relatively short. This has been a common theme for many of our past inductees. Often our heroes' educational pathways and goals were halted when they decided to serve their countries and we respect and of course honor that decision. And ever since the Hall of Heroes was established in 2013, the approach has been to identify, discover, tell the story, and honor inductees regardless of their degree status or length of time at Stout. At some point in time, they were part of our Stout community, and we never forget someone who has been part of our Stout community, and we of course honor their service and their sacrifice. You'll hear in a moment about the history of the Hall of Heroes project, which is a great history. It's really special history and something that I'm really proud of at this institution. And we'll learn about how today's inductees were accounted for 18 and 79 years after their untimely deaths. And a common thread throughout these stories are the numerous people who worked on and collaborated to make our memorial display a reality, and the continuing determination to account for and tell the stories of our heroes. And I want to thank the Hall of Heroes project team, both past and present. People are probably watching the live stream. Again, it's a really special part of what we do at Stout, and it's a special part of this building and this building's history. We're very proud that our campus has a permanent display to honor these individuals and educate future generations of UW-Stout students about who they were and the sacrifices they made. And I often walk past the Hall of Heroes while people are there visiting the wall, learning about those who have served, learning a bit about our history at Stout. So it is a space where people gather to learn and honor those who have served. So thank you again for being here today, and I'm going to turn things back over to Darren Watucky. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chancellor Frank, and thank you for the script. Okay, I'm here to give you a little history on the Hall of Heroes project, and if you attended last year's induction of Charles Cumming, my segment may sound familiar. If you've read some of the press release information leading up to today's ceremony, you may have learned that we dedicated our memorial wall in October of 2013, but the story does not start there. The year was 1957, and the campus was engaged in an effort to assemble the names of Stouts fallen in advance of the opening of the first Memorial Student Center, which today serves as our Communications Technology Building. In fact, it was 66 years ago today that reference librarian Beulah Howison sent a memo to President Strickland indicating that despite their best efforts, a comprehensive list of those from the Stout community that fell in military service was simply unattainable at that time. It was a frustrating reality of incomplete and unattainable records, and while President Strickland asked that the search for the names continue, the Memorial Student Center was opened and dedicated in 1959 with a plaque that reads, Memorial Student Center dedicated to the students of Stout State College who died in war that others may live. That plaque was remounted in 1985 just outside of this building and within sight of the memorial wall that we expand today. Now fast forward to the spring of 2012, alumni that were representing Sigma Tau Gamma from the early 1960s created a scholarship in memorial of Lieutenant John Abrams, a 1962 alumnus who died in Vietnam in 1968. These former classmates who started the Abrams Scholarship Fund inquired about honoring Abrams with a plaque. And the campus was certainly receptive to this idea, and while we worked on with this group to honor John Abrams, it was discovered that a larger opportunity was within reach. Before his retirement, University archivist Kevin Thory had made a considerable progress in developing a more complete list of alumni fallen in military service. And then new and current archivist Heather Steckline continued Kevin's work, and we felt we could develop a comprehensive listing of Stout's fallen service members. And a committee was formed and work began to realize our long desired goal. A team of over 35 people helped make the memorial display a reality on October 18th of 2013. And a memorial wall of heroes was unveiled to the campus community and assembled family members with 40 service members at that time. It was a special day for the campus and for this building. The Memorial Student Center was made more complete with the dedication of the wall. The publicity of that day and subsequent word of mouth generated some leads and stories, all indicating that our work was not done. The archives team went to work following up on new leads and verifying information. And a team of 20 people worked together for a second ceremony in November of 2015, and 4 more Stout veterans were inducted to the Hall of Heroes. About half a dozen existing plaques were also updated with photographs, a big win. All of our heroes now have a picture with their name, and the second ceremony was once again very special at our campus. At the conclusion of the 2015 ceremony, Heather Stecklein indicated she had credible leads on Stout alumni from the Spanish-American War, and after 7 years of researching, last November, we inducted Charles V. Cummings as a Stout alumnus that we lost during the Spanish-American War. We started last year's ceremony with no new leads, and after the ceremony, Don Steffen, the original member of our Hall of Heroes project team, who is now retired, reminded Heather and me of a short list of names that we had contemplated in 2015. 3 hours later, Heather emailed me that Don's memory was accurate and the list of names had promise. In a moment, I will turn the podium over to Heather, and she will take over the story from that point. Before I need to make some acknowledgments and thank a remarkable team to help make today possible. Our Hall of Heroes project team includes Cheryl Kives from Marcom, AJ Lydell, Jerry Poling, Jen Ruger from University Advancement, and Heather Stecklein from Archives and University Research. Our vendor partners, Sue Bonas from Intex Exhibits and Jessica Stiles from Allegra Printing. I would be remiss not to thank members of my own department, our conference events team, our custodial team, our MSC designers, and our event technology crew providing the live stream and the recording for those that couldn't be here today. And a special thank you to the Veterans Service Office and the UW-Stout Veterans Club for their support and inclusion in the week of events leading up to Veterans Day. As you will learn in a moment, the University Archives researchers carefully and painstakingly worked to identify and verify today's honorees while weaving in together details that capture their stories. The Archives team includes digital archivist Rebecca Kuski, student Ingmar Emerson, and of course under the leadership of Heather Stecklein. And I also need to once again acknowledge the 1960 members of Sig Tau Gamma, whose idea of honoring a classmate grew into this memorial that is being again celebrated today. Lastly, the family members. In the previous 3 ceremonies, we were fortunate to find, invite, and get to know many family members of our honorees. We have been humbled by how gracious the families are, and when we find and make contact with them. Today is no different. I want to acknowledge and thank the Bossert family for being here today and virtually, and thank the members of the Reed Jones family watching via live stream. Special thank you to Robbie Jones for his patience with all my text as I tried to explain to him what we were trying to honor his great uncle 79 years after his passing. There is no doubt that this project continues to be a labor of love, honor, and determined focus for everyone involved. With that, I'd like to welcome Archivist and Area Research Center Director Heather Stecklein to the podium.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you everyone for attending today. As Darren indicated, the process of identifying the individuals that we put into these plaques is laborious, and it's something that we work very hard to be accurate with. And it's something that our committee agreed upon 10 years ago when we initiated this initial installation, is what do we need to have in a plaque in order for us to consider someone a plaque complete for inclusion in the Hall of Heroes. So I will walk you through what it looks like when we have a complete plaque. This is Jalmer Molner's plaque, and it kind of walks you through everything that we need to substantiate in order to have everything that we need for the plaque. We need to know someone's military rank. We obviously need their name, and we need to know the circumstances of their service. We need to know what branch they served for, what their death date was, and we're really looking for biographical information that talks about this person uniquely. What is it that we can tell about this person so that their friends and family who walk past that plaque will recognize them. So with Jalmer, we're looking at his birth date. We're looking at his Stout story. What is his connection to Stout? Where did he serve, and what kind of role did he have in the military? Then we have to talk about the circumstances of their death, and we like to end every plaque with the location of their burial or their memorial, so that other people who want to, beyond this campus, honor them, can stop and lay flowers, lay a wreath, commune with them. I chose Jalmer Molner's plaque specifically because his story is something that Darren has already kind of relayed, which is he was one of our initial honorees. And when we put up his plaque, he had only a symbol for the Army. We didn't have a photograph for him. Every photograph we had of him in the yearbooks was him leaning over something. So we really didn't have a nice headshot. So a family member heard about his plaque, came forward and gave us his photograph. And this photograph is especially moving for us because Jalmer initially served in the military in the South Pacific and during World War II, and then he decided that he wanted to become a pilot, and he re-enlisted. And then he ended up serving in the European theater, where he had multiple successful missions before he was eventually shot down. But his family, when they gave us this photograph, said this is the way that he would want to be remembered. And for the Bossert family, I think you'd also appreciate knowing he was also a talented basketball player, just like your son. So we see a lot of that. When his family came forward and gave us information, we learned that his intramural basketball team won when he was at Stout. So I really liked that commonality with your son. So I'm going to walk through each of today's two honorees and just talk about how we substantiated them and what we found out about them using archival research. And when I say archival research, I'm actually talking about a combination of things. Our university archives documents this campus starting in 1891. So we have things like photographs, videos, yearbooks, our student newspaper that we can look through. But we also have a lot of limitations with understanding what their military service was like. And that was what Beulah Howison was talking about when she said that she didn't have the right materials to substantiate things, that she couldn't look at federal military records. And now a lot of those are publicly available. And so a lot of the work that you're going to be seeing me putting together is a combination of things from the Stout Archives, which my department administers, but also federal military records, local newspaper records from their hometowns we're able to get to, and also information that we get personally from the families. So we see Reed Jones in the 1939-1940 directory. This is his entry. He's living in Linwood Hall. Linwood Hall, for those of you who don't know, we have a power plant just up the hill from here, and there's a parking lot just north of that, and then across the street from that, Wilson Avenue is the street there. That is where Linwood Hall was. So if you walked out the eastern entrance of Harvey Hall, you would see Linwood Hall. Whenever we're thinking about someone who previously attended Stout, we like to think about getting a context for what the Stout that they attended looked like. So when Reed came here in 1939, we were called the Stout Institute. There were approximately 850 students, and we offered bachelor's degree programs in home economics and industrial education. It was a very gender-segregated campus. If you were a female student, you were getting a home economics related major. If you were a male student, you were getting an industrial education degree. We also offered master's degrees in both of those fields. This is what it looks like in Linwood Hall when Reed was attending here. Unfortunately, as the archive staff is looking through things like the yearbook, a lot of times people are not identified in photographs. We know that these are people he would have known. We know that he might be in some of these pictures playing cards or smoking a pipe or putting a pennant up on his wall. But we don't know for sure that that's Reed. That's something that only people who knew him personally could assist us with. We do, in some pictures, have pictures that have him labeled. So this is a page from the 1939 or the 1940 yearbook. These are classrooms at Stout. And again, as I was saying, they're gender segregated. So you can see that there's a wood shop on the top picture. And I've underlined Reed Jones's name there. We know that he's in the picture, but the students who made the yearbook didn't specify which individual is which. We can see in the middle photo that there are a bunch of students using a really hot technology of the time, which was slide rules. So that was kind of a shorthand for being an advanced mathematician, was that you had this slide rule. We have some slide rules in the archival collection if you ever want to see them. And then we see female students in a laboratory. Our home economics students were very advanced in scientific endeavors. The reason why you are seeing 4 different red underlines on this picture is that as I was looking for Reed on this page, I realized that we also saw 3 other members of the Hall of Heroes. There were, in the fall of 1939, these freshmen had so many people who participated in World War II, and these are 4 of them that didn't make it back, and it's so great that we're able to rejoin Reed with his classmates today. When Reed left Stout, he left partway through his sophomore year. He got an opportunity to go to Ford Motor Company and train. So he learned to be a machinist and a die cutter at Ford Motor Company, and he was working there when he enlisted in the Army. It's interesting because we actually saw an article in Stoutonia that said Reed Jones intends to come back to Stout in the spring, and then for whatever reason he enters the military. It could be that he was drafted, or it could be that he enlisted, but what we do know is that he enlisted in the Army on September 28th, 1942. Unfortunately, Reed passed away in a training exercise. He was flying his P-47D Thunderbolt aircraft near Strother Field in Kansas. And from what we see in the accounts, there was a malfunction in his aircraft. He tried to bail out and he was unsuccessful. These are a variety of clippings from area newspapers, and a lot of times they're talking about Reed's dad, because Reed's father was an instructor. And we think that that's how a student from New York ended up coming to Stout, is that his father was a teacher in the industrial arts field, and that he was recommended to come here. We're so grateful for the Jones family for providing us with a clear photograph of Reed. As I've already shown, when we were looking at the yearbooks, we were not able to find a lock for "this is Reed," and a lot of times yearbook photographs don't have that clarity. It is Reed standing there on the left, so that's what we'll be adding to his plaque today. And then finally, we were able to substantiate via a lot of communications that are happening on the internet now. You can look for the burial places of individuals, and we found his burial in Groton Rural Cemetery. He's buried near his mother in Groton, New York. I'll now walk us through Andrew Bossert's experience. This is Andrew's entry in the student directory in 1999-2000. We can see that he was living in 135 Wigan Hall. And when Andrew entered Stout, which was then called the University of Wisconsin-Stout 24 years ago, there were approximately 6,900 students in attendance. At the time, we offered 28 unique bachelor's degree programs and 17 graduate degree programs. This is what Wigan Hall looked like when Andrew lived there in 1999. And we do have photographs of various dorm rooms and students in them. And so this is the time where you would see a lot of loft beds. The students sitting on the left-hand side probably are playing an N64 game system. And then we also see a lot of personality in the rooms. These are co-educational dorms. So suddenly he's in a campus where he would be routinely intermixing with people from a wide variety of majors. We also have some great classroom scenes from the times that Andrew was here. We can see what we saw as cutting-edge technology in 1999, where you have this like rear projection giant screen TV of someone and another campus talking to you live. That concept is something he would have been able to be engaging with. He also probably was doing a lot of work, hands-on work, in laboratories. You can see students from his time are building catapults, they are drawing, they are conversing with each other in a very applied way. That's a Stout story. We know that Andrew wanted to be a builder. He joined the Stout community because he was interested in architecture. He was interested in engineering. And he decided in the spring of 2000 to enlist in the military so that he could apply it immediately. And Andrew served in the 44th Engineering Battalion in South Korea, where he was building infrastructure near his military base. He was helping to build bridges. He was helping to construct and repair roads. He was helping supply lines be successful in that part of the world. During Andrew's time in Korea, he had the opportunity to cross paths with a woman who grew up halfway across the world from him. They fell in love and they got married. He and Olga started their lives together, and Andrew decided to re-enlist to support his new family. Andrew re-enlisted and served an additional 18 months in Korea with the engineering battalion before his battalion was reassigned to be a sapper unit in Iraq. On March 7th, 2005, Andrew was working with his unit to make sure that pathways were clear for supply lines and for other soldiers to safely travel when he died in a car explosion. Following his death, there was a memorial service for him in Cochrane Fountain City for his classmates and people who loved him, and another near his burial site in Cassville, Wisconsin. We are so grateful for Andrew's family for giving us this clear photograph of him in his military uniform, proud of his service and representing our country in a very special way. Andrew is buried in Cassville Cemetery in Cassville, Wisconsin, in the family plot. Now that we have substantiated everything that we need to in order to construct the plaques and add these inductees to the Hall of Heroes, I welcome Darren Watucky to start the official induction.
Thank you, Heather. Once again, really great and detailed accounting of how you do your work and how your team does your work. All right. We will begin the induction of Reed W. Jones, and to do that, Brian Hackner, our Military Education Benefits Coordinator, and Lieutenant Colonel retired from the United States Army, will read Reed Jones's plaque narrative.
I first want to thank Reed's family for listening into this. As a retired Army officer and the grandson of a World War II vet, I was very proud and honored to be asked to do this, and with that, Second Lieutenant Reed W. Jones was born on September 22nd, 1920 in Beatrice, Nebraska. He attended the Stout Institute from 1939 to 1941. During his time at Stout, he was an active member of the Kappa Phi Sigma fraternity and the Stout Student Association. Jones applied the skills he learned at Stout toward his work as a toolmaker and a die settler at Ford Motor Company in Dearborn, Michigan. He enlisted in the Army on September 28, 1942, and served in the 2nd Air Force. He died on July 22, 1944, near Strother Field in Crowley County, Kansas, during a combat training exercise for his P-47D Thunderbolt aircraft. He was buried with the Groton Memorial Cemetery in Groton, New York. Thank you, everybody, and God bless it.
Thank you, Brian. Next up, we will have the induction and reading of the plaque narrative for Andrew Bossert, and doing that is his mother, Diane.
Staff Sergeant Andrew Bossert was born on October 1st, 1980. He grew up in Cassville, Wisconsin, and later Fountain City. He was a 1999 graduate of Cochrane Fountain City High School. In August 1999, Bossert enrolled at UW-Stout with a dream of becoming an architect. He took up residence in room 135, Wigan Hall. After one semester of Stout, Bossert decided to serve his country while earning benefits to support his future education. He enlisted in the Army and joined the 44th Engineering Battalion Sapper Company. During his time serving in Korea, Bossert met and married his wife, Olga. He re-enlisted and served an additional 18 months in Korea before he was assigned to Iraq. In Iraq, he earned his unit's respect by being a leader that led by example. On March 7, 2005, Bossert was killed in action by a car bomb at a checkpoint in Ramadi, Iraq. Bossert was honored by friends and classmates at a memorial service in Corcoran, Wisconsin. He was buried with full military honors at Cassville Cemetery in Cassville, Wisconsin.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, a little transition housekeeping notes. So at this time, Chancellor Frank and our Hall of Heroes project team will escort the Bossert family to the memorial display around the corner. And they will, on behalf of the Jones family, unveil Reed Jones's plaque and then unveil Andrew Bossert's plaque. We ask the rest of the audience follow behind them to the display. Afterwards, we can return to this area for some conversation and fellowship, accompanied by some beverages and sweet treats provided by University Catering. Lastly, I want to announce at 12:01 today, the clock tower bells will toll in honor of Reed Jones and Andrew Bossert. Thank you.